My name is Amy Bond, founder of Pole and Dance Studios. You are listening to Up the Pole podcast, where I interview studio owners to discuss all things building a pole dance studio business. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. We're talking to Emily Eigen. She is the owner of Altius Pole Studio in Bend, Oregon. Emily started pole dancing back in 2008, fell in love with it, like you do, and turned that passion into a thriving, inclusive studio that she opened in the middle of the pandemic in 2021. Her approach blends fitness, community, and trauma-informed teaching. We'll get into how Emily has built her studio, why trauma-informed teaching is a game changer, and how she's creating a space where all bodies and backgrounds are welcome. Thank you for spending time with me this morning, Emily. Thank you for being here on the podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So are you actually in your studio, Altius Pole Studio?
Actually am. I'm in our private room right now with our little shoe wall behind and some pole dance art that we had done by a local artist. So this is my background for today.
So Emily, you're based in Bend, Oregon. I'd love to hear more about your origin story. Like, what made you decide to open a studio? Why in the heck would you open that studio during the global pandemic that is COVID?
I started pole dancing in 2008, actually in California is where I grew up and where I'm from, in like the Bay Area. And I was going to college for mathematics. And I had this goal to work for NASA as like a mathematician.
Wow.
And my junior year, I was working as a math tutor, and a coworker of mine was like, "Hey, so I'm going to go try this pole class. Will you come with me?" And I was like, "No,
Nope.
No,
Not
that
for
doesn't
me.
sound like not for me." So she had to ask me like 5 or 6 times, and finally I caved and I went with her. And I remember being so terrified of my very first class. Like I was in tears on my way in through like the first class, like going through the door. And I remember I just like sat and watched that class. I didn't participate, and I just saw all these people cheering for people who like didn't know each other. And it was just mind blowing to me that like this existed and that this was a thing. And I started diving so hard into it that I was like, oh, this is me now. This is what I want to do. And so I dropped out of college my junior year. I was like, I really want to get into this. There was not really pole certifications or anything at the time. So I was like, the next best thing would be to become a personal trainer. I've always been sort of a go-getter and like wanting to learn everything about something that I'm interested in. Like I would love to open up my own space one day. But as we know, that takes a lot of time and effort and money. And at 20, I had none of that. So it was always like a dream, like in the back of my head, like one day I want to open a space. I got married and my husband and I moved up here to Bend, Oregon, in 2015.
And what brought you to Bend? What was compelling about Bend for you? I mean, it's beautiful, obviously, but
absolutely. I mean, California is amazing. Bay Area is phenomenal. So when I met my husband, he was a rock climber and he got me really into rock climbing. So much so that I started a grassroots organization for female climbers in the Bay Area called She Climbs. And so what we would do is we'd go around to different places, whether in the Bay Area or we'd go travel to go climbing. And so someone had come up with the idea of going to Smith Rock in Oregon. And this was like one of the trips where we could bring our partners along. Usually it's like female only. So a bunch of us, with our partners went up to Smith Rock. And I mean, if you've ever seen Smith Rock, you just fall in love. It is
that's so beautiful.
Otherworldly. So my husband and I kind of looked at each other. We were just freshly married, right?
You were like, I want to live next to this rock.
Yes, absolutely. Build a house right here. I need this in my life. So,
and then how long did it take between visiting and then going there? When did you move there?
Less than a year.
Oh, wow. So you were you guys were both like, let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. We had to do it. We, knew we wanted to raise a family and have kids, and it was just seeming more and more unlikely with where we were living. And so, we moved up here and, I mean, honestly, the rest is history.
And how long ago was that? And then you started your studio right after? Or, what was the timeline?
So we moved up in 2015.
Okay.
And then ended up having kids. So that kind of took me out of the pole dancing game for a bit. And then the pandemic happened, right? And I know each state was different, but with ours, like gyms got shut down for
Hmm.
quite a while.
How
And
long were gyms shut down in Bend? I know in California we were
yeah.
closed for about 18 months, but I
Oh
think
my
it was
gosh.
much less other places.
Yeah, ours wasn't that long. I want to say it was like maybe 8 months,
Okay. Hmm.
maybe less, like 6 to 8 months. And my husband kind of looked at me one day and he goes, "It's time." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Aw.
He's like, "No, it's time. You got to do it." I'm like,
Oh, that's so beautiful.
"Are you sure?" I'm like, "This is going to
I
be my personality from now on."
I think this is something that's really commonly overlooked is like the support of the partner or the
Yeah.
person. So what was that financial conversation like between you and your husband, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, not at all. I mean, we did have to sit down and I said, I think it's going to cost this much for a build out, which of
Hmm.
course double that because that's what it usually costs, right? And we sat down and our conversation was, okay, if nobody showed up, if
Hmm.
we had no instructors and not one single soul came to our studio,
Yeah.
could we afford the monthly commitment,
Mm. Yeah.
for however long, we are doing our lease for?
Hmm.
And that was a tough conversation. Like, what would that
Yeah.
look like? What would that look like for our
How
we
much
had
is
to,
your lease? Like just the lease alone? How much was it at that time?
uh, like the cost or how long?
The cost, like on a
Oh,
monthly basis, if nobody came and you were only paying your lease, what would that out
yeah,
of pocket look like?
like 2 grand.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
substantial.
yeah,
Now you're taking from your personal household finances to pay for
yeah,
something. Well,
yeah,
and it's amazing that you were able to sit down and really clear out, do that like worst case scenario
yeah.
analysis.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we sat down from everything from like creating a spreadsheet of how many clients do we need to have per month that are
Yeah.
on an unlimited membership in order to just stay afloat.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Break
just
even.
to hit the line, break even, exactly. And, we had to do a personal guarantee on our lease
Hmm.
at the beginning, which is a really scary thing because
Yeah,
it's not
just for
just,
anybody listening, a personal
yeah,
guarantee is a very common clause in a lot of real estate contracts that basically
yeah,
says if your business or the LLC that you've started or the C Corp, which is less common, can't afford to pay, then you personally, Emily, and your husband
hmm,
will promise that they will pay. You together will personally pay the rent. That's
yeah,
super scary, and
yeah.
it really does affect like the risk analysis.
Absolutely. So we started the process, I want to say like third quarter of 2021, kind of like looking, I had
Uh
established the business and we were looking for space. And right as we secured the lease before our build out,
huh.
that's when everything shut down.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of had two pathways to go here. I could like
Uh-huh,
dwell on it and be
uh-huh.
like, oh no, we're off to a bad start. Or I could go the path of, you know what, we can use this time for our build out and we can
Yeah.
build it out and
Mhm.
make it exactly how I want to make it. And it
Cool.
worked out so well for us. We opened up within the week of them reopening, like being able to go to gyms.
Yeah. Mhm.
And people were like chomping at the bit, let me tell you,
Yeah.
like to get out of the house and like move.
Oh my gosh. So you were off to a bang, basically in this like kind of artificially created environment.
Yeah.
How did things go after that? Was 2023 as good as 2022? Or like, did it just keep growing? We all lived happily ever after? Or what were some of the road bumps you had along the way?
We did see, and I've had this discussion with a couple other business owners. It's like those first 3 years are
Uh-huh.
so important, right? Like you want to see a ramp. And luckily, we saw that within our first 3 years, just continuing to grow. And then after
Uh,
about that third year, we've just kind of been maintaining
Do you think that's because you're a one-room studio or you have 2 rooms, but the
too.
second room's pretty small? So is
Yeah.
that like steadiness, do you think,
Mm.
because you've hit a capacity, or is it just that's the level of business that is like maintainable and feels good for you?
I think it's the latter. It's the level of
Mhm.
business that we've hit. And we are a small town. We're not a big city,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily an excuse by any means. But
Uh-huh.
we, kind of hit our cap on how many classes we want to offer per
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
those classes are doing well. Our memberships are, pretty much stay the same. But also, we live in a town which is really interesting for us with seasons. And so summer tends to be our slower months because,
Hmm.
yeah, everybody wants to be outside. We
Yeah,
just got through like winter time and
totally.
our winter time's easy.
I'm curious if there
Yeah.
were any challenges along the way or anything unexpected that you ran into as you were trying to build that business.
Oh, so much. So, well, one of the things that did help us ramp up before we get into that is we
Yeah.
did offer online classes before we opened up. So it
And you
was
feel like that was helpful.
oh my gosh, that was a game changer.
Do you think an online optionality would be useful to somebody opening a studio today?
Absolutely. I think
Really?
the pandemic changed us in a way where we're online all the time.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we now have like picked up so many like Patreons, people just posting like, here's my Zoom link, like to come to
Hmm.
my class. Like it's still very much an active online
Wow.
community. And I feel
Interesting.
like when offered that, I was doing
Hmm.
it from my garage at the time because we didn't have the studio, but I felt it was like a great way to get people to know who we were.
Interesting. I think
Oh,
online is such a crowded space now. And
yeah.
so many studios offering it online for very inexpensive prices, definitely not brick and mortar style pricing.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would be a useful strategy today, but I'm hearing you say it was really useful for brand recognition. You got your
Yes.
name out in front of people before you even opened so that they kind of had a sense of who you were and what your studio kind of brand and ethos was all about. I think there's a lot of narratives out there that are around
Yeah.
like, just throw your hands up and see if it works. And it will, if
No.
you build it, they will come. And it's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Do the spreadsheet. Are
Yeah.
you going to go bankrupt if it doesn't work out?
Mhm.
I'm really curious about the trauma informed aspect of your studios. When I've talked to you in the past,
Mhm.
it seems like that element is really important to you. What got you originally interested in that and why it's such an essential component of the business that you're building?
So that was like a absolute with opening the space, whether I was going to open a pole space or a gym or whatever it was I
Hmm.
was going to decide to do, it had to be surrounding being trauma informed.
And what is trauma informed exactly, just for us
Yeah.
less
So
knowledgeable people?
in a nice little box with a bow on top, it's
Hmm.
basically creating a space where we're not re traumatizing people, where people can come in, they feel safe, they feel welcome, they don't feel like they have to hide who they are, that they're welcome, they don't have to
What's like an
explain themselves.
example of
Yeah.
somewhere where somebody could be like potentially re traumatized if you were
Yeah.
trauma informed in how you teach?
So,
Sure.
this client had come in and we had done a private together, and I
Hmm.
was teaching her how to do like a front hook.
Hmm.
And she goes, "I'm not comfortable with that." And I said,
Okay.
"Okay, that's totally fine. We could, do something else. Do you want to
Yes.
share with me why that's not comfortable, just so I
Hmm.
can understand?" And of course, people don't have to share their traumas,
Hmm.
but she shared with me that she had some sexual trauma, and being in that position was extremely triggering for her.
Well, interesting.
So it's those things you don't think about, like body
Hmm.
positions and movements
Yeah.
can be triggering for people. And, we don't know what kind of traumas people are coming in with, whether
Yeah.
it's like emotional, sexual, like physical
Yeah. But we
sorts
do
of
know
abuse. Yeah.
statistics, and one in
Yeah.
four women and one in 2.5 men have
Yeah.
experienced some kind of sexual trauma. And so
Yeah.
if you have a class of 16 people and you look to the left and look to the right, statistically, somebody has probably
Yeah.
experienced that kind of trauma. And so that's really
Yeah.
interesting. So, how, in this specific instance, how does trauma informed change the way you would teach this specific person, for
Yeah.
example?
So, I said, this is not something that we have to work on. If you're not feeling
Uh-huh.
comfortable with that, I have variations or I have other things we can work on. It's not forcing someone to be like, well, you need to learn this because I said so. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And just, giving space, not putting any judgment on them, not
Mhm.
asking why or asking them to like dive deeper. This line of exercise work, there's a lot of sensuality, sexuality with it.
Totally.
Not that everybody has to do that, but
Hmm.
it also creates conversations with your own body. And there's so many of us who are not comfortable in our own body for whatever reason. If
Yeah.
someone wants to discover their sensuality or sexuality, like this is the safe space to do so.
Hmm. Yeah. I've really struggled with the phrase safe space on a
Yeah.
number of occasions because I
Hmm.
think, like, when kind of like the
Mhm.
liberal world started
Yes.
talking about this like
Yeah.
10 years ago, and like the intentions are so pure,
Yeah.
and it has this kind of like utopian vibe of like
Yes.
we small business owners can create
Yeah.
these spaces where like no
Yeah.
evil is allowed, and like I
Yeah.
love the idealism of that. And at the
It's
same
not
time,
perfect. Mm.
yeah, and you just, like, can't follow through on a promise like that. Like, there you
Yeah.
have strangers in this room or you don't
Yes.
know, and, like, I had an experience once with a student who was, like, sexually harassing people casually all the time, while at the same time, I was making these, like, bold claims that, like,
Yeah.
"My studio is it's a safe space for everyone." I realized, like, "Oh, I can't actually
Yeah.
make that promise."
Yeah.
I don't know everybody. I haven't vetted every student who's coming
Yes.
through my doors. And I
Yeah.
had another experience once where I had a student who was really mean to other people. And
Oh.
so I sent her a message and I was like, "Hey girl, like I need you to be nice.
Yeah.
Like here's some specific instances of how you were kind of an asshole." And
Mm.
she wrote back like, "I'm
Mhm.
so triggered. I'm so bothered. I can't believe you've like now this space doesn't feel safe for me."
Yeah.
And like the language was like kind of like a weaponized a little bit. And I was like, ew, I hate this.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I kind of
Yeah.
stay away from the wording safe
Yeah.
space, but I love like the promise
Yeah.
of a safe
Yes.
space, you know?
I mean, at the end of the day, this is a public space.
Yeah.
And we are all human, myself and my instructors, but it is,
Mhm.
it's our job to do our best. And I
Yeah.
can't say that I've been perfect in everything either.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But,
No, none
like
of
the
us.
trauma informed even comes with like thinking about lights, thinking about
Yeah.
music. Like you
Oh,
don't
that's
want
cool.
bright lights. You want it to be
Yeah.
soft and welcoming. You don't want music
Yeah.
so loud you can't hear your instructor. Those are all
Totally.
parts of having that trauma
I
informed space.
really like this as like an alternative to safe space. Like I can't
Yeah.
promise a safe space, but I can promise that my instructor team has been trauma informed and how
Yes,
they are taught to teach. And I'm
exactly.
like, that is a promise you can keep. Did you do any kind of vetting of the building or the property before you moved in, or what was that process like?
So funny enough, the space that we're in now was the very first space that I looked at. And when I called them and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a space," they were like, mm, I don't know. And so I was like,
Because
"Oh,
pole dancing, or because they weren't sure if they wanted to lease at all, or
I'm not really
not
100%
sure?
sure." It just kind of like fell through. It was like a
Oh,
3 month search, and I noticed the space that we're in now was still open.
uh-huh.
So I called them like, "Hey, you
Still
know,
love it.
still open, and I kind of want the space, and it's gonna be a dance studio." And they were like, "Okay, cool." And so this building is old. It's
Uh-huh.
like 40 something years old. The people who were in here before us, it was a water management company, and nothing was up to code. Nothing.
You'd think
Yeah,
they'd at least manage the water.
right. So like there's like wires hanging from the ceiling, like it was not ADA compliant. Like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I also have a studio that is as one of my contractors called it, a walking code violation.
yeah. So I was like, we got to fix that. So we had to get like permitting through the city to like fix all of the electrical and do new
And you paid
wiring.
for that out of pocket, or the landlords paid for that?
So we did a little bit of both. I had a little bit when we made our lease together, and I can't remember the name or what it's called exactly. You probably
Yeah,
know
it's like a
the
fund
allowance.
where
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
An
we
allowance, I
agreed.
think that's what
Yes.
it's called.
Yeah. We agreed on a certain amount per square foot,
Uh-huh.
which didn't cover the entire build out, but covered a good portion of it.
Yeah.
And so like the electrical and then like our HVAC was
Mhm.
covered by them because we had to do all new wiring and then put a whole new HVAC system
Mhm.
on
Oh
up
my
on our
god.
ceiling.
That's so expensive.
It was.
That's so much money.
It was. Yeah.
How much did that cost? Like 30K? K?
Altogether, the entire build out was just a little over 40K,
The entire build out of the whole space?
the whole space.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
This is a reason to open in outside of big cities.
Right.
That build out would have been 150K in San Francisco. I'm curious about how you train your instructor team. Like how do you choose instructors?
Mm,
How do you train your instructors up? Like where do they come from? How do you guys work together? I think the social dynamics of
yes.
studio owners and their instructor teams is so fascinating.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, I feel very proud of the team that we've curated here. One of the most important things to me was that we had a team that worked well together.
Yeah.
Um, we don't need catty drama if there's, and one thing that I learned very, very early on in my studio ownership career is it's not the certifications
Hmm.
that matter. It's the person
Like the
and their
personality of the person.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, because
Yeah.
you could have all the certifications in the world, world titles, traveled the world, but if you're mean
Hmm.
or if you don't create a say, or create a space where people feel welcome,
Yeah.
or you're putting other people down, I don't want you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you vet for that specifically? Is it just like you're going off of vibes, or, how do you
yeah,
watch out for like unfriendliness when you're the
yeah.
owner, when they talk to you, they're trying to get a job, they're not going to be unfriendly to you.
For me, this personality is a big part of it, but
Mhm.
also I want my instructors working for my team not just to have a pole certification.
Mhm.
Full certification's great,
Mhm.
but if they have any other background in kinesiology, or if they're like, I have a nurse on staff and then she also has like, she's a certified group fitness instructor.
Cool.
And so like having that background in movement, human movement
Mhm.
science, I find is like incredible because
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with people's lives on the pole.
Yeah.
We should be able to educate ourselves and them on how to move their bodies and be able to watch them.
Yeah.
I want people who have, like, I have a staff member who has experience in another apparatus. She was a like silks instructor beforehand and then came
Mhm.
to me as a student and learned pole with us. And it just was like a great match personality wise. She had the teacher spirit, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like
Mhm.
the people who are there to teach because they love teaching. That's a
Yeah, I
big one
think
for me.
when we do our we do our own
Hmm.
teacher trainings through pole and
Hmm.
dance, and when we're trying to decide, you know, which students to invite to the
Hmm.
teacher trainings, we're usually looking for the person in class who's like celebrating their co-student. Like they're already
Yes.
kind of an instructor a little bit
Yeah.
in like it's that person
Yes.
who's like watching around them for what's happening and like celebrating other people's success that I think is like the biggest indicator
Yeah.
on and you're right, it's not technicality, though we do require a lot of
Yes.
technical skill.
We
It's
do as
really
well.
like, do you make people feel good when they walk
Exactly.
out of the room?
At the end of the day, is someone going to go in their car crying because they couldn't get a move you were teaching them because
Mhm.
you couldn't explain it?
Yeah.
Or did they feel good about doing a dip turn because you cheered them on?
We've had over the years, like quite a few instructors who will, get to the studio and then they're just kind of like sitting on their phone at the front of the room,
Hmm.
which we all do, but
Yeah.
like, are you genuinely excited to talk to students in the 5 minutes before class starts, or does
Yeah.
that feel like pulling teeth? And I think that's a
Hmm.
question that anybody thinking about becoming a teacher should really ask themselves, not me
Yep.
asking them, because
Yeah.
otherwise this is just going to be exhausting for you.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And like to be totally honest, I don't think that it's very rare that someone is a pole instructor as their full-time job and making a full-time pay. So
Totally.
a lot of instructors are doing this because they enjoy teaching and they love it and they
Hmm.
have a passion for it. And those things I feel like you said they're like a huge requirement for
Yeah.
being a good instructor.
Yeah.
Um,
And sometimes I think people really think that they want to be a teacher. And
mhm.
then they start teaching and they have their full-time job and they have their
Yeah.
family. And then they're like, oh, wait, where's my time? And now I need
Yeah.
to carve back my training time.
Yep.
When I started teaching, I was like, oh, this is great. I'll teach and then I'll train. And
Yep.
then you finish teaching and you're like, oh, I'm kind of
Mm,
tired now.
yeah. And I've had that experience with someone we brought on board. They thought they really wanted to teach, and 3 months
Totally.
later, they're like, "You know what? I kinda like doing this for me and not for other
Yeah.
people." And I was like, "Okay, well, thanks for letting me know."
And it's so nice as a studio owner when your instructors figure that out for themselves and you
Yes.
don't have to wait for 3 months of the numbers to come in to go, I'm not sure that you're excited about this. And they go, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not. Yeah. So you really
Yeah.
vet for people who are going to work well together. I am
Yes.
curious though, how much are your instructor team actually working together? Like much? Do they co teach a lot or is it mainly like the communication online is the like together part?
So our situation is unique. Like we don't have a front desk here at the studio.
Okay.
So it's basically instructor ran. The instructor comes in and they are the ones who check people in. And so, I try to curate the schedule in a way where there's at least crossover with
Hmm.
as many other instructors as we possibly can. We have a good chunk of instructors who just come and take the other instructors' classes.
Yeah.
And so that's how we build a community there. We try to do community events and where we're trying to get all of the instructors involved as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the lack of front desk, I definitely think does contribute to us not being able to have as much togetherness with the instructors, just because it's kind of back to back to back.
Yeah. And I imagine, I was looking at your pricing. An
Mhm.
unlimited membership is $130 a month.
135, yeah.
135. Yeah. If you were going to have
Yeah,
a front desk team, that would probably need to be raised by like 20%.
absolutely. Yeah. Mm,
Emily, before we start to close out, do you have any advice for people who are thinking about starting their own studio? I think you've given us so many good tips already, like
mhm.
sitting down with your partner and deciding, like, is this
Yeah.
something we as a family can commit to?
Mhm.
Anything else that you would recommend for people who are thinking about getting into this world?
Go to therapy
Yeah, I think so.
because I think it's really, really good to have a therapist or someone that you can talk to. I know a lot of us who open pole studios open them because we're passionate about teaching.
Mm.
It's usually pole instructors who are like, okay, I want to take the next step, right? And I
Hmm.
want to open up my own space. And I think more often than not, I've heard, well, I didn't realize it would be like this,
Yeah,
right?
it's
I
like
thought it was just going
motherhood.
to be so fun. It was going to be so fun. But then there's all this, like, do your research is what I
Mhm.
would say is like, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life, but it is the
Yeah,
hardest thing I've
yeah.
ever done in my life.
But you're a
There's a,
mom. It's
I
harder
am.
than being a mom.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Look, I can tell my kids to go to their room. I can't do that to my business. So it has a way of showing
When
you
you say
all.
do your
Yeah.
research, what
Yeah.
does that mean? Like what research?
Yeah.
Where?
So
Who? When?
you need to look up not only like what the cost is around town, what do you need to be paying per square foot?
Yeah.
What's the insurance going to look like? How many
Hmm.
classes are you actually going to want to hold? Are you going to be teaching them all?
Yeah.
Do you need to hire instructors? Or is it just going to be you teaching? Like
Hmm.
there's endless questions. And then
Yeah.
also like what kind of software am I going to use? Am I going to use
That's a big
Mindbody
one.
or well, and those all come with their pros and cons. And also if I had to teach every class, could I commit to that?
Yeah, totally.
If I lose a studio cleaner, am I going to be able to come in and commit my time to clean until we find a
Hmm.
new one?
Yeah.
If I had to do scrub toilets, can
Hmm.
I do that? Unless you're already coming in knowing about small business, it's a lot of learning along the way. So
Totally.
I guess my best advice is be flexible and
Hmm.
but be prepared.
Final question. If you were to
Mm.
guess, how many hours have you spent of your life cutting hair out of fans?
Oh my God. Like a full-time job. Oh my God. I don't understand how hair and like nobody comes in wearing glitter, but we still have glitter
There's
and
always
hair
glitter and hair.
on the, yeah,
Glittery fur balls in the
yeah,
perimeter periphery of the
seriously.
room all the time. Emily, well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you about Altius trauma informed style. You've come to this conversation with so much intention and experience and thoughtfulness. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and hopefully future studio owners about, the good and the bad and everything in between. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Amy.
My pleasure.